So, you're prepping for the Nepal Rastra Bank exam, right? And let's be real, the syllabus is massive. So today, we're going to cut through the noise. We're going to build a simple mental model of the entire system, hitting only the core concepts you absolutely have to know.
It's a huge question, isn't it? Mastering an entire country's banking system? But hey, don't sweat it. We're not going to just throw a bunch of dry facts at you. We're going to build it all together.
All right, let's do this. We're going to use a super simple idea here. We are literally going to build Nepal's banking system from the ground up, piece by piece, right now in just the next few minutes.
Think about it. You can't build any great structure without a solid blueprint, a master plan that tells you where everything goes. Well, in the world of banking, that blueprint is the law. This is square one.
First up, we've got the Nepal Rastra Bank Act of 2058. This is the absolute master plan. It's the law that literally creates the Nepal Rastra Bank itself, the central bank. It lays out its main goals, like keeping inflation in check, and gives it the power to oversee the whole system.
And then we have BAFIA, the Bank and Financial Institutions Act of 2073. Now, if the NRB Act is the master plan for the whole project, think of BAFIA as the detailed building code. It's the rule book that every other bank and financial institution has to follow to the letter.
So let's nail this down, because it's super important. The NRB Act is for the architect. That's the central bank. BAFIA is for all the buildings, the commercial banks, the development banks, you name it. One for the regulator, one for everyone they regulate. Getting that distinction is absolutely key.
All right, so we've got our legal blueprint. Now it's time to meet the master architect, the one in charge of designing, overseeing, and pretty much maintaining this entire system, the Nepal Rastra Bank, or as we all know it, the NRB.
So what's this architect's main mission? Well, they've got a few big ones, but let's focus on the top three. Number one, maintain price stability, which is just a fancy way of saying fight inflation. Number two, make sure the country's payment system is secure and works smoothly. And number three, supervise the entire banking system to keep it healthy and safe.
Wow, that is a huge responsibility, right? So who's the chief architect? Who's at the very top of the Nepal Rastra Bank, making the final calls on everything? That would be the governor.
Now, how does someone land this top job? Well, it's not random. There's a whole process. First, a special recommendation committee is put together led by the finance minister. Then, that committee suggests 3 highly qualified people. And finally, from that short list of 3, the Council of Ministers appoints one person as the governor. It's a very deliberate system.
Okay, the architect's in the house. Now let's check out the actual structures they're overseeing. We're talking about all the different kinds of banks and institutions that make up Nepal's financial world.
The whole banking scene is basically split into 4 categories. You've got your Class A's. Those are the big commercial banks you see on every street corner. Class B are development banks, which tend to focus on specific areas like farming or industry. Then you have Class C finance companies and the super important Class D microfinance institutions, which provide financial services right at the community level.
And get this, there's a really important rule baked into the system by BAFIA. All these banks have to offer at least 30% of their shares to the public. Why? Because it gives everyday people a chance to own a piece of the pie, which is great for transparency and public trust.
All right, blueprints are done, buildings are up, but what goes on inside? How are these places actually run day to day? Let's step inside and look at some of the core ideas of bank management.
Leadership style makes a huge difference. On one hand, you have the autocratic style. Think top-down, my way or the highway. It can be fast, but it might not be great for team morale. On the other hand, you've got the democratic style, which is all about teamwork and communication. It might be a bit slower, but it often leads to smarter decisions in the long run.
And to run a tight ship, everyone needs to know their job, right? It breaks down into 2 simple parts. A job description tells you what the job is, the tasks, the duties. A job specification tells you who is right for the job, the skills, the education, the experience. You really can't have one without the other.
Okay, time to pull the camera back and look at the really big picture. Because no bank, no matter how awesome it is, exists in a vacuum. It's all happening inside a much larger system, the national economy.
And the number one scorecard for that economy? That's GDP, gross domestic product. It's just the total value of everything, and I mean everything, produced in the country in 1 year. It's pretty simple, right? If GDP is going up, the economy's humming along, and that is great news for banks.
But it's not all about the money. The Human Development Index, or HDI,
gives us a much fuller picture. It's basically a report card on how well people are actually doing, looking at things like health, education, and standard of living. When HDI is on the rise, it means you have a more capable, healthier population, which is the foundation for long-term economic strength.
So to steer this whole economic ship, there are two main levers you can pull. The central bank gets monetary policy. They use things like interest rates to control the money supply. The government gets fiscal policy. They use taxes and government spending. Two different toolkits, two different players, but ideally, they're both working together to keep the economy on track.
And there you have it. We've built the entire thing. The laws are the solid foundation. The NRB is our master architect. The banks and financial institutions are all the different buildings. Management principles are how we run things inside. And the whole project sits right in the middle of the broader economic environment.
And after all that, let's not forget why this whole complex system even exists. It all comes back to a core mission from the NRB Act, to create a payment system for the whole country that is secure, healthy, and efficient. That's the end game.
So, our building is complete. But in a world that's changing faster than ever, the job is never really done, is it? So I'll leave you with this question. Looking at everything we've built, what do you think is the single biggest challenge it's facing right now?